push. And okay, we're live. Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone. So welcome to another Storytellers Happy Hour. I'm here with Teehee Hazlett, and we are here to basically imbibe. Can you see that? Okay, imbibe and tell tall tales. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Teehee to explain what is about to go down.
Yes. So this was a fun idea. This has been like, we're on year 2, I think.
Totally.
Maybe year 3.
Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. And what is time anyway? But anyway, this came from a really great idea of just like a night where we basically pull prompts and then have to tell a story on the spot. So we have no idea what kind of stories we're going to tell. Every single storyteller happy hour is exactly this way.
Mm-hmm.
So for this season, a good friend of mine, Jenny, gifted me this deck. Yay, from The Moth. If people are familiar, The Moth is like an oral storytelling situation. And if you see my hand here, my cat is just very active. He's very active and needing of affection and attention. So I'm dealing with my cat. But anyway, so this deck has a ton of prompts in there of different kinds of stories. Right before we went live, I pulled 2. So Lisa hasn't even seen these.
I really have.
But I pulled these 2. And I thought they would be fun.
Oh, and by the way, if you are an author or an editor and you're like, dude, this sounds like fun, like just ping us, because we love having more folks on, because it always ends up into this like really wild, crazy conversation. And you know, and it's not just because it's us, it's it's the environment where you're in the safety of your own location, imbibing, and yet you have the interaction with other folkies. So yeah,
there is something about just like sharing stories off the cuff that always like unlocks things. And then I'm like, oh, I have another good story. And then there's like that kind of like social bonding thing, which is amazing.
And by the first, do you remember the story I told about like my first boyfriend? Okay, I literally had like a half dozen people reach out to me going, I can't believe that you shared that. And I was like, well, they're like, what the fuck? And you dated him because he had a Harley and he looked like the guy from Guns N' Roses? And I was like, well, fuck, I was 17. What'd you want me to do? Pick the nerd boy who, like, you know, would be like the obvious pick for me? No. So anyway, and we have that, but I just love that was the one that like triggered people.
And then like my first story was also wild because it was like a sex injury story, and I threw it in the bag. Previous seasons we had a bag and I would write my own prompts, and I threw it in there because I was like, I hope I don't get it. But like, if I have a sex injury story, somebody has a sex injury story. First time doing this, pulled it out of the bag. Like,
totally.
Damn it. Okay, so these are a little bit, they don't have to be G-rated, but they are very fascinating. So the first one I pulled was cars.
Okay.
So any kind of story about cars.
Okay.
And then the second one, do-over.
Okay.
So a story about second chances or getting to redo something or revisit something.
And what about
I do have a car story.
You have a car story? Okay, good, because I don't. Not yet.
I think so. I'm forming it in my head right now.
Okay.
So what makes cars an interesting prompt for me is that in 2006, I made a pledge to not drive for 10 years. You know, because of the war in Iraq, and I was in college, and I was very idealistic. So I was like, I'm not going to drive. I'm not going to drive for 10 years. So then 2016 rolled around. I'm still not a car driver. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to go back to the world of driving. It's 2024 now. So in 2 years, I'm coming up on 20 years of not driving. I'm 18 years
Wow.
of not driving.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm very convinced that I don't know how to drive a car anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised. And honestly, they're so, well, not all of them, but some of them are so elaborate now that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those like the cameras and stuff. I don't know. And then they have like the self-driving. That shit scares me.
No, yeah, me too. I'm convinced I will end up in someone's lap. Like, there's no way. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've almost killed myself several times driving in my brief career as a driver.
Well, then it's perfect that you don't drive anymore, right?
Good driver.
Mm.
Gosh, maybe that is one of those stories. Oh man, those are all so embarrassing. And my cat is being ridiculous. But okay, let's start with the light, I hope, car story. So when I was living in Orlando and I was like 19, was fresh out of high school and newly out of the closet, and so just out and about in like gay bars and whatnot. And I was
like the best.
Very promiscuous, as you are when you're fresh out of the closet.
Totally.
You basically go home with just about anyone. So this guy picks me up and he's like, all right, fine. Because he was like, so this guy lives in what I could only call is like a Disney trailer park. It's for people who work at Disney but don't make enough money to live in the real world. So you have to live in a company owned.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar. Disney, that's a big thing at Disney. If for folks, especially if you're in college, like all of their internships, it pays like $5 an hour. Well, this is back in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
$5 an hour, and you basically live in a trailer off of the, yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Really creepy. Like, and there's a lot of people out at night, and it was like 2:00 in the morning. And I think it was a Thursday because it was college night. And that's where I usually got the most wasted, which is not a great story because I drove from Orlando to Kissimmee and I was definitely
that's a lot. Yeah.
Little T was making some bad decisions.
All good, man. We all have those.
Get to this guy's his trailer. It's really weird. All the lights in his whole trailer are purple, and all the walls are black and white striped. And
ew.
Yeah, so that's already weird.
That's weird. That's like, was it like glowy with the purple lights and the ew? Okay.
Yeah, it was like it's like, I don't know what I stepped into. I did drive all this way, and I'm 19. I have no clue what I'm doing. It's definitely not doing this. I swear this gets to cars, but like we'll skip over some stuff. So like stuff is starting to happen, but I noticed like in his bedroom, opposite his bed, it's I can't remember what the picture was. It was either Marilyn Monroe or it was a clown, but it was upside down. Okay. And as we're like fooling around and doing stuff, the guy keeps trying to like maneuver me onto the bed in a certain position that I realize is the only position in which that picture looks right side up.
Oh.
So so that's terrifying.
And it's hilarious. Like, just think about it. It means he's probably done this quite a bit. And so he really thought this out.
It's like whatever is about to happen, it was premeditated.
Oh yeah, big time, man. Not just once, because there's no way it was just you. Like he must have had multiple partners.
Yeah. And like, thank God I can't remember what the picture was. Like, I think I've truly just blocked it out of my mind because it was, and I was like, I don't feel safe. I have to go. So I leave. This trailer park is
good for you for that part. Seriously. Sorry. Go.
Yay, yeah. I mean, yeah. Broken watches right twice a day. So I'm like, this is some serial killer level shit that I just don't want to be involved.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave. The Disney trailer park is a fucking maze. And so at this point, I'm like, I'm not drunk anymore. I'm sober. because I was also terrified. Uh,
Yeah,
this is a
seriously.
great Halloween story, I'm realizing. So I'm driving around, and this is how long it's been since I've driven a car. I'm driving around. I can't even pantomime it properly. I'm trying to get out, and like getting more and more panic. Exactly. And like the reality of everything like sets in. Like I don't know this person's first or last name. And like I literally met them at a bar for like less than 30 minutes and then drove to a different county,
Oh
someplace
my.
I've never been before. His apartment is like a demented clown. There's like this upside down poster that's meant for
Like,
the people he's hooking up with to view. And I'm like, this guy is a fucking serial killer. And so like I'm trying to get out of there and like getting lost in the trailer park, and like every time I turn, like I can't tell if it was a road I had already been on, and like from the outside all these trailers look the same. So
yeah.
I'm like, I hope I don't drive past this trailer again, and he starts to follow me and whatnot. So like the panic is like really really settling in, but I
Yeah.
finally make it out. There's this like dirt road that you have to take until you get to the highway. So I see the dirt road and it's straight, there's no curve, there's no nothing. My cat's freaking out also. And so I'm just like, damn it. Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm making it to my own bed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm going. And I'm like trying to like not even yet talk myself down, but just
Right.
the exhilaration of like, who knows what horrible thing was awaiting you in that fucking trailer, and now you're gone, and I don't see that you were supposed to make a right turn at one point because it's a completely brick like wall separating the street from the interstate.
Yeah, yeah.
So I spin out like a motherfucker. My
Mhm.
car like swings around, and I get like this close, like the wall nicks my like
Oh
window
my God.
mirror, like
Wow.
and and at that point I start crying because I almost died
Yeah,
for the
right.
second time. Third, technically, if you count drunk driving from Orlando to Kissimmee.
Yeah. There's that. Yeah, yeah.
You would think this would be a come to Jesus moment, but I just cried silently for a while until I recomposed myself, and then drove to another bar and got drunk.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, holy shit, you didn't even know the guy's name. Like that for me is like the woo.
Yeah.
And thank God you had to come into Jesus of like, okay, this shit is fucking weird. And dude is a psychopath. I don't care if he works for Disney. There is something seriously wrong.
Somehow made it worse, though. It made it
Oh, yeah.
Disney. I'm like, does he work for children? Does he work with children? That makes it worse. Is he like
Oh, that
some
makes it so much worse.
creepy costume guy? Is he a creepy pyrotechnic guy? Is he like, I don't know, a janitor? That also makes it worse.
Oh
The
my God.
fact that he worked for Disney entirely was not good.
Seriously. Oh my God. That's cray. That is so cray.
Yep.
Okay.
Never been killed by a serial killer, though.
So this is not nearly as cool of a story. Um, okay, so and I'm trying to find a way to make it where it's like not depressing, but okay, so I don't think many people know this. So I was married when I was in my mid to late 20s, something like that. Actually, I still have a lot of friends from my mid to late 20s. So shit, I still have friends from kindergarten. There's something wrong with me, obviously. I mean, holy shit, who does that? Okay, so anyway, so my before I graduated from college, I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, and like so we had no money. I mean, like my first job was as a paper girl, and I got fired because my boss thought I stole like the money for the from the route, and it turned out it was actually her niece who did it, who was looking over the route while she was on vacay. Anyway, but like to me, it was the big great thing when I was a kid was to go to McDonald's on a Sunday and get the pancakes breakfast. Like that was like, oh my gosh, it's so like cute. Like that was like the huge thing, right? Or and then like as I got older, it wasn't McDonald's, it was like a local diner where, you know, like you could get like well, in Philly you call them pizza turnovers, but there's a better term for it. But it's basically a pizza in a deep fried dough, and you used to be able to get it for like $1.50.
Like a pizza roll, but bigger?
Yeah, I mean, like it was like, yeah. And my bestie Heather, she and I would like make whatever money we could make during the week, and then we would take that on like the Friday or Saturday or whatever when we get paid, and we would literally just spend all our money on pizza turnovers. But you know, whatever. But like that was like glamorous to us, right? And like, and my father had a Ford Escort Pony, which at the time was like the cheapest car you could absolutely get. And we drove the hell out of that baby. Okay. So fast forward, I graduate from college. I get married not long after I graduate from college. My then husband, he and I lived together in an apartment outside of Philadelphia in like Delaware County, Pennsylvania. And I went from making, like, if I was lucky, you know, $20,000 a year to making $100,000 a year, which was like, when I got that job offer, they were like, we'll pay you $100K to do this. I literally, at first I stood there and stared at the job offer, and then I cried because like there's no way, like when I went and told my dad how much like the offer was, like there's no way I thought he would believe me, because like this just doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like at the time, again, especially from where I came from, this was like, I'm now a billionaire, right? Now, fast forward, we're in 2024, 100K. Yeah, okay, right. Sure. Like,
yeah,
if you can, you know, pay your bills, which is sad. But anyway,
which is sad.
It is sad.
Because I make $100K in 2024. Yeah. It's not great.
I mean, you can do a 1-bedroom apartment and you can save some money on 100K, but you're not going to have like a house and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so back to when I first got married. So my husband was all about status, right? Which, I mean, in reflection, I realized this. At the time, I wasn't necessarily as aware of it. And we lived at the time we had bought a house in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. So it's outside of Philadelphia. And he was really hyped on, 1, getting a luxury SUV, and 2, upgrading our home so that it was like off the charts, right? Like as if it was like a mansion. Excuse me. So me, I was just like, dude, I've got a car. Woo! It is paid for. Right? Like, yay! But he was just like, he had this like, all right, use foul language, hard on about, we need to get a luxury SUV. So I was like, okay, look, if we're doing this, and by the way, he was like this high-end consultant tech developer. Like he did a lot of coding, right? And he got paid crazy money for this kind of stuff, right? So I researched and we finally land on an Acura MDX, because it's actually, compared to other luxury SUVs, It was actually relatively environmentally friendly. It had great gas mileage, blah, 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 right? So he could tell I wasn't really totally like sure about it. And so he finally was like, okay, look, this is your birthday present. And I thought, okay. So we order our own, special Acura MDX, and we go to pick it up. He drives it home because he's like, well, just let me drive it home. Now, admittedly, I was the primary driver of the thing, right? And so I was like, okay, so I drive it to and from work and blah, blah, blah. Well, fast forward, he, let's just say we were not compatible, which is a polite way of saying, holy shit, was he emotionally, damaging, like PTSD level, kind of.
He was emotionally the poster that's upside down, that's meant for your viewing and not for anyone else.
So like an example would be, and I hate to say this, every time I shave, I think of this. So back then, women's razors were not very good. Like every time a woman would use a razor, you'd nick yourself. And I went and I tried his razor, and it was glorious. I mean, like, so I started using his razor instead. Well, he realized I was using his razor. Teehee, I mean, screaming fit, like huge anger, like, you goddamn motherfucking, like, let's just throw in some more language. Screaming, hollering, do you have any idea what you could have done to me? You could have completely ripped apart my, this completely dulled the razor, and I had no idea. And I'm sitting there like, well, but you've never had a nick. You've never had any, you've actually never had anything results from this. So this doesn't make any sense why you're freaking out, And I anyone who knows me knows this. Like, I do tend to do that. Like, if someone is like, "Wah!" I'm like, wait, well, like emotionally, I like take 100 steps back, and I'm like, what's going on, and why is it going on, and this is really weird, Well, imagine that this happens in your household minimally 2 to 3 times a week, and it's targeted. If not at you, then it's something where you're like, I have to do damage control because I don't understand why. Yeah. So anyway, so
I've been in that kind of relationship.
Oh, love bug? No. Mm-mm.
Not great.
So I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, this is an emotionally abusive relationship. I don't belong here. I'm finally at a place that I can actually afford to not, be dependent on someone else. So like I pack up all my stuff, right? I take off. I stay with a dear friend in outside of Pittsburgh for like a week. I file the divorce papers, all this stuff. Well, during the divorce proceedings, now to his not benefit, but that to show that he wasn't a total jackass. I mean, he could have been like, you owe me all this money, or blah blah blah. And instead I said, you can keep everything. Other than the stuff I came with, you keep everything. I'm out. Other than my car. So the MDX, because I'd been driving this thing for like 2-3 years and it was paid off, screw it, right? In that moment, he goes, you do realize I actually bought that for me.
But it was in your name, so you didn't buy it.
Oh, no. He was like, oh, no, that car was meant for me. We never actually bought it for you. That was my car. And I was like, okay, well, take that to the judge then.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do this argument, right? Like, you can scream at me. And obviously I've learned over the last several years that, all I have to do is I actually have to separate myself from this so that I'm not, engaged. And I was like, okay, take it to the judge. And then I literally just like walked away, and I never heard about it again. So
That's good.
yes, we did. Obviously, we got divorced. Oh, and has nothing to do with nothing. The day that the judge, so in Pennsylvania, what they make you do, if you file for divorce, they make you wait a year to finalize it. Just
I've
to
heard
make
of this.
sure you're sure, right? So a year later, we go to the courthouse. He shows up with his new girlfriend, who he then eventually marries, which God bless you, Love Bug. I really hope that he learned how to manage himself. But yeah, I was just like, I'm really happy for you. I hope that you're, whatever. So
What I hear is that this man really stressed and thought about how he was going to bring a date to his divorce hearing, which
isn't that
is
weird?
awful.
Isn't that
But then also the person who agreed to be the date to someone else's divorce hearing.
mm-hmm. And they don't even have you stand together. Like, you go in to the judge. Are you sure? Yes, I'm positive. Okay. And then they have him go in to the judge. Are you sure? And like, what's he going to say? Like,
He's like, I'm sure. I just want to make sure that my soon to be ex-wife sees that I'm here with a woman. And the judge is like,
I'll be honest. I saw her. I thought, oh my God, she's adorable. I really hope he's not. I really hope he's not awful to her,
Let's hope.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope. Man. These are interesting. These are interesting car stories because there's a thematic look.
There is, like, there's the psycho level in it.
Yeah.
And there's a whole nother, which I won't go into because it's awful, but all right. What was the second one?
Was do-over, which I keep thinking about. Do-over. Anytime I got to repeat something, do something again, or it says clean slate.
Or like, if you could do something again, like what
if you could do something. How about this as a prompt? If you could do something over again, how would you do it different, and what do you think would happen?
Oh, that's a good one.
As a result.
Okay. Because I'm one of those weird people, like, I don't regret things. I just figure this is something I needed to learn from. And so I try to take that into consideration. It doesn't mean that I wasn't like, yay, this is fabulous. It's just more like, wow, that sucked. Okay. Well, what was I not prepared for? Or what did I need to learn from it? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually, this does remind me of something. So, and where was I living? I think I was living in New York City at the time.
Okay.
I have really, really elaborate dreams. Like last night, I had a dream that me and Beyonce were celebrating her country album, like at a party together. Like, and it was, all the details were amazing. I love Beyonce. This is not that dream. I had a dream when I was in New York.
Wait, what?
That, yeah. Yeah, wait, very intricate. Yeah, I have a lot of dreams about Beyonce just in general. I think one day we'll meet. I think that's what it means. And yeah. Okay. So anyway, I'm in New York City. I had this really involved dream that was, what would happen if I got into my first choice university as opposed to my second or third or whatever one ended up being, whatever. Mm-hmm. My first choice university was North Carolina School of the Arts because they had a filmmaking program and they had a huge backlot with sound stages, and they had like a lot of money for you to make your like student films. They got a lot of stuff from Warner Brothers because Dawson's Creek had just finished and they were filming in North Carolina, you know, and so there's like that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I applied. I made the waiting list. So I didn't get in right away. And then I jumped into the first horrible for-profit cockamamie film school adjacent thing I could find in Florida, which is how I ended up in Florida. 3 weeks into it, I hear back from North Carolina School of the Arts. They're like, someone dropped out. You're in. But I couldn't afford to move myself up there. So I was like, oh, sorry, I can't. And so this dream was like, what happened if I was like, oh, let me pick myself up and move? And it was so in-depth and fascinating. So like I did film school. I was okay. Like I definitely had a point of view and I definitely like came out of the closet and whatnot. And so like there's all this stuff and all this like weird things of like trying to tell like queer stories, but like confronting like the homophobia of people who fund you to do film. And they're like, well, we really want the story to end this way. And I'm like, well, that's problematic. And I'm like, but they're paying for it. So I guess I have to change it. This is so good.
Yeah.
And my whole dream was always to work in television on like a 6 Feet Under or The Sopranos or something like that. And I finally get that job and it films in Boston for some reason. In Boston. And I fucking hate it. And like, and also I missed being able to meet my best friend, Lesson, who I'm still best friends with to this day, but we met in Florida. There's a lot of, and then I missed all of Georgia Southern, which was a big drunken traumatic experience along with an education.
Okay.
I had like drunken nights in film school in this dream, but it was only when I got to Boston that I really fall into alcohol the way that I would have fallen into alcohol 10 years earlier or 15 years.
Got it.
So I turned into one of those people. When I wasn't working on the show, I was like at a dim bar getting like fucked up and like doing all sorts of weird things. So my first relationship started at
in the dream or in for real?
In for real life, my first relationship was at Georgia Southern University.
Okay.
So also if I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, I would have never gone to Georgia Southern University. So I never would have met that guy. And then so I'm in Boston, I'm kind of a drunk, I kind of hate my life. And I meet that guy, my very first boyfriend, who was an abusive boyfriend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I have no contact with him. It's fine. But in the dream, I'm in my like early 30s. I have minimal relationship experience. I'm like really tipping over the edge into alcohol and basically have the same relationship that I was gonna have when I was younger with this dude who ended up like, at first he told me that he worked at MIT in the dream. And then I find out that he works in the kitchen of one of the student halls at MIT. Like I thought he was like a super smart person. And
oh my goodness.
Which is very on brand for who that person was.
Okay. Got it.
And then I wake up and I'm like, that was a really wild ride that just like delayed the trauma that was already going to happen.
Okay. Oh, got it. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm happier with this timeline where I dealt with all that bullshit in my 20s when I was still kind of crazy because my brain wasn't fully formed. And now like settled into a better life.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. That was a good one.
Well done.
I have a couple of like do-overs, but I don't know. So I'm gonna tell one, and then if we have time or whatever, I can tell others. I guess I don't know. Okay, so when I was in high school, I was I was in theater. I had an arts major. I went to a college prep school. So I thought, my dream is really to be an actor. I actually preferred theater, meaning like actually like live theater, because I had actually been on Dance Party USA and Dancing on Air. And so that's I enjoyed being, recorded, but I preferred being on stage. So anyway, I had interviewed or applied to like NYU, like all the majors, NYU, UCLA, blah, blah, blah. And I also applied to Circle in the Square. And so for those who don't know, Circle in the Square is actually a 2-year program, which I guess you could say is like the equivalent of like a master's program for those who are interested in live theater, meaning like stage theater. But you don't have to have an undergraduate or anything like that, right? And it's out of New York. And so I applied to Circle in the Square, and you had to give them this like long ass essay as to why, you know, they should consider you, blah, blah, blah. And somehow I actually got to the point where I could audition on stage. And you had to have 2 dialogues that were emotionally very variant, right? So like possibly one super depressing and one very like, you know, romantic or whatever, right? But the intention was to demonstrate your capability as an actor. So I like rehearsed. And I took the train from Philly to New York, and I got there. Oh my God, Teehee. I was so terrified. It came out like,
no.
All I remember is being on stage with the lights on me, and, you know, those who were basically going to like rate you, for lack of a better term. And it was just like verbal expunging. I mean, I just like bleh, right? And I knew as I was doing it that this was complete shit, and there's no way in hell anybody was ever going to let me in. But I couldn't stop myself either, because it was like, you know how like in your head, like your brain's going, this is completely wrong and you are fucking up, but you can't stop your mouth. Yeah. Okay. That was this, right? So I'm like, like Shakespeare, and it probably sounded like Minnie Mouse, right? Like it was just awful, right? So if I could actually do it over and I could get into Circle in the Square, then I would assume I probably went into theater in the New York and actually in New York, because Circle in the Square is out of New York. And at the time, I really was more passionate about stage theater.
New York City is the best place for it.
Seriously. And I was not, I mean, I wrote a lot, but I hadn't really found my voice, I guess you could say, in terms of like non or fiction, because I was more so used to writing journalism stories, right? Like articles and essays and stuff like that. So there would never be a Running Wild. There would never be a Rise. We wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I would probably, if anything, I may have written stage plays. But my bet is like right now, like if I had actually made it, because understand too, I've always had problems with my weight, and my weight has always fluctuated dramatically. And the last 10 years has been I've been the most regular in terms of my weight in the last, I'd say 8. So I would bet I'd probably be poor out of my mind. And as I described earlier, like begging so I could get me a pizza turnover or a slice from like, you know, the train station or the pizza place around the corner, and like just praying I could make it into a stage show. So
I think we would have maybe met had my life stayed the same, but your life took this path, because I still would have went to Fairfield. I would have become friends with Jenny, moved to New York, and me and Jenny saw tons of shows in New York. So we would have probably seen you.
I could totally see that. I could totally see it. I mean, I don't doubt that I would have found my voice in some capacity, but not like what we've done today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of interesting. Like the whole reason I wanted to go into filmmaking is because, and I love my mom, so this is not disparaging my mom, but when I was really little, I was like, Mom, I want to be a writer or I want to be a storyteller. Because we grew up in Iowa, we'd have these traveling storytellers come through, and I always loved them. And my mom was like terrified. She was like, these people are homeless. Like they're just homeless wanderers who tell stories for money. And I'm like, that sounds great. She's like, no.
You're like,
like, yeah, live out of my car. not what you want your children to say to you. Totally.
No, seriously not.
So I was like, okay, filmmaking. It's kind of like storytelling. It's really close to it. It's technical, like, and there's money to be made. It's also really hard to break into.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to Full Sail in Orlando, which is like a tech school for the film industry.
Oh, wow.
It was a 1.5-year program, and you get an associate's degree, associates of art in like film, TV production. And my degree now is completely useless because I did this in 2002 to 2003.
Oh, yeah.
Just when the studios were starting to move over to digital. So I had to learn film, but early digital, and like all of it is obsolete.
Totally.
100% obsolete. Totally. But by the end of it, I was like, I don't want to work in filmmaking. Like the one thing that I enjoyed out of the whole education was the screenwriting class.
Oh.
And I was like, that's what I want to do. And I was like, oh, that's right. You wanted to be a writer. But everybody told you that you can't make money doing it.
There you go. There you go. And I admit, like, I went into my day job work because I was like, well, I'm good at it and I can actually like feed myself. Versus like, I grew up with my father who was a radio personality, and he always had day jobs because he couldn't feed himself, let alone a family, just what a radio guy gets paid. So, and unfortunately, until there's like this, like, there's like a level of like, there's like the majority of people in some kind of creative capacity, and then there's some like magical barrier where it's like poof, now all of a sudden you're a millionaire, and it's like,
yeah,
holy, but there's no clear way to break that.
Yeah.
Like in if you're in a business school or tech or something like that, like there's actually like okay, you get 5 years experience or 10 years experience, and blah blah blah, okay, now you can make $200K, right? Versus
even in the writing world, you have the Iowa Writers Workshop, right? Which is like supposed to be like the guarantee that you are at least going to get some sort of book deal. But not everyone who goes through there ends up with that.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. And it really is like there is no path to get there. However, I am manifesting that my next novel is going to be explosive and amazing and great and take me
someplace different. Cody is crazy excited to work on it, just so you know.
Yes. I'm jealous of Cody's vacations because I follow him on Instagram.
I know.
I live in a vacation destination, and I'm like, damn.
So, and I adore. So anyone who's watching and doesn't know, so Cody's one of our amazing, amazing acquisition editors, and he's in charge of Rise. And me, Teehee, and Cody all know each other from other various circumstances. So we all follow each other in other capacities as well. And Cody is fucking rock star. And yeah, like I hate him for the fact that he can actually go on multiple vacations and do these crazy ass shit. But
I know. Like, how do I get to live your life? Because you took a vacation last month. And you know what? Like, I want to be able, I say this as an unemployed person, I want to be able to take a vacation every month.
Right? For real.
I don't even work right now. And I'm like, I need a vacation from unemployment. My friends are like, you mean like a job? And I'm like, oh, hell no, not a job.
I need to be able to travel everywhere where everyone loves me and everything's fabulous. Of course.
Exactly. And also I would do it is I love my cat. I'm not gonna blame my cat. But I would travel more if I didn't have a cat. Or
Mm.
at least a reliable cat sitter.
Okay, so I'm now going to tell another because we have time, if that's
Yep.
okay. Okay,
Yep.
a possible do-over. And this ties back to the whole acting thing, right? So, like I had an agent like everybody else, and um admittedly, like I said, I had problems with my weight, so it was like, I would lose 20 pounds, but it was by basically self-starvation and working out like a maniac, and then I would gain 30 pounds because I was like some emotional trauma occurred, whatever, right? Anyway, so there was an open call in Philly for redheads for an up and coming movie. And it was oh my god, no, I'm not gonna remember his name. Anyway, so I thought, oh wow, this is great because only what, like 2% of the population are redheads, something like that, something not so. I'm gonna go. This will be great. I'll go to the open call. Blah blah blah. Okay, so I show up. Holy shit! It was like everyone, and so they made the open call for like girls between like 16 and 21 or something like that. Like they were looking for a specific, like look. There were people in their fucking 30s who clearly were not natural redheads.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like all kinds of stuff. I mean, like hundreds. And they like tried to like bucket us into like, sections, for the auditions. There were enough females who like, I felt like, oh my God, you could be my twin sister. This is actually freaky. That I was like, it like broke my heart. Like it was actually a great reality check. Like you're not all that fucking unique, right? Like there are hundreds of people who actually look just like you, and so get over it, right? It's just that in my neighborhood where I was the only redhead for like 10 miles, right? Like that was to go from that to like, congratulations, here's hundreds of, females in your same age range who, I mean, not all of them are redheads, obviously, but yeah, anyway. So I was so freaked out. I was like, holy shit. And so I waited maybe, I don't know, an hour or two. I waited longer for my $3.14 pizza from Blaze Pizza on Pi Day than I did for this role. I'm just saying. So I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm done. I'm out. And actually, it's one of the reasons why I like when I so effed up with Circle in the Square, I wasn't like, oh my God, my life's over. I was like, okay, this is just another, like a check mark of like why I probably shouldn't be doing this, Anyway, if I actually had stayed and I had actually auditioned. Oh, and by the way, Ron, so if you have you seen Argyle?
No.
Okay. So Argyle is with, and I'm gonna have to look this up because
Isn't it like Ben Affleck, or is Ben Affleck somehow connected to it, or Matt Damon?
no, well, that I don't know, but I thought it was hilarious. It's with Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh, I like her.
Oh my God. So she's the primary, and Henry Cavill is I'm the guys in it. Like John Cena is Wyatt. Like it was I like a friend of mine and I went and we fucking like almost peed ourselves laughing. Like it was awesome. It was also freaky because it was as if someone followed me around for a little while and went, I'm gonna write a film, like a farce based on you as a writer. But anyway, so to go back to this whole thing back in the 90s, right? Guess who got the role?
Bryce Dallas Howard?
Bryce Howard got the role. And I was like, at the time, I was like, dude, this was staged. Like, this was all just like a thing to make it look like, you know, like to get like a public opinion and, you know, public engagement and all this kind of stuff, you know, like that's why you had this. So it's Bryce.
And even it could even be a number of different things. It could have been a tool to negotiate her down in her salary.
Oh, for real. For
To be like,
real.
oh, well, we're doing a nationwide casting because they do that shit all the time.
100%. Yeah. You are absolutely right. But yeah, so anyway, so if I wouldn't have maybe, and if it wasn't rigged, because I really do. I mean, it was one of those like for real. Like, there's no way. Like, Heine was not waiting in line for 4 hours to go in and say like 2 lines of a script. Like, that's bullshit. But if it wasn't rigged and I actually got the role, I can't even imagine. Like, I have no idea how my life. What do you think? Like, what do you think could have happened?
Well, I mean, that would have been.
It was M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
Oh,
audition for. Well, if I would have stayed, I would have auditioned for The Village, but I didn't actually stay. But yes, that's what I had going to audition for. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot of different things, because M. Night Shyamalan's career did not last for very long, but like being an M. Night Shyamalan movie at that time was actually
huge. Yeah.
And you would have parlayed that into something else.
Had to.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't even know. Like, my brain's just like,
Oh, you definitely probably would have made it into Hollywood.
That's freaky, right? Don't you think that's freaky?
It is a little freaky.
Mm.
It is a little freaky. Crap, what was my do-over? I had another do-over story. It was man, I totally forgot. Crap.
Dude, you've got to give it. Like, all right.
Yeah. Shit, it was something similar, although I never tried to be an actor. I did once in a while, like 1 or 2 off things.
What's really funny, I never wanted to be a director. I never wanted to be like, I was either like, let me be an actor. Honestly, I guess it comes down to storytelling. Let me be an actor and I can tell a story, or let me be a writer and I can tell a story. You know what I mean?
That's how I was. I was definitely, I was like directing. I remember the class I took on directing, and I was like, this ain't it. Like, it's either I'm writing this or I'm going to have to be like the actor involved in it.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Wait, no. Okay, well, I'll tell this story anyway.
Do it.
Multiple levels. But this is another roads less taken. So when I was in New York City, I did a lot of oral storytelling, and this was around the same time I was in grad school, and then also after grad school.
Okay.
So I had 2 different shows that I produced that were monthly, where it was a curated group of about 4 to 5 people, storytellers that I would find on the comedy circuit in New York City. And then after that, I would open up to be anyone in the crowd who wants to get up and tell a story. Like, very similar to this, like but pre-COVID. And so I was doing that. I kept getting invited to more and more shows, and some of them were like comedy shows. Like, I did the Broadway Comedy Club. I did 8 Minutes at Caroline's in Manhattan. Like, you know, like I've done, and because like my stories are pretty funny, so they're like, oh, we can throw you in with the stand-up comedians, and I'm like, but I don't do stand-up. But so anyway, then I get an audition. Exactly. And I was like, I don't know why I'm funny, but I just can make it funny. But then I get an audition, and it's not an open call or anything. It was like a very legit audition for Comedy Central, for like the executives, the people. They're like, they're always looking for comedians and writers and people who are funny, and they'll just like pair you with something if you're good. And they're like, we've heard a lot about you, but we need to see a tape. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, cool. So my younger sister is in town visiting me, and she has a little like selfie tripod thing. And I asked another friend if they can come and film me. So I have two different videos buried somewhere in an email, two different angles of the same story. The story itself is too long. It's like a 12-minute story, but it's very funny. If you're at all familiar from Fairfield and the island, it is the strawberry story.
Okay.
Okay, it's very raunchy.
We may just need to do it next time. It's all good.
Yeah, we could just do it next time. It is very in depth and it's very funny. And I love it. I've rewatched I don't know where it exists now, but I used to rewatch it, and I was like, that was a really good audition. Like, I didn't send the one my sister filmed because the guy my friend who showed up to film it was actually a videographer.
Oh.
So like it looks super professional and like, all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'll send that to Comedy Central.
Fun.
And their feedback was like, this is hysterical. We were thinking about having a storytelling show. We decided to scrap it because most New York City storytellers are too raunchy for television, including you. Like, they're like, we could never air this on television.
Okay.
And like, as far as other writing jobs and stuff like that, they're like, they were like, there's a line.
Yeah.
In the email, it was like, there's a line of what you can get away with at night at like midnight in a comedy club and what you can get away with on television. And they're like, you are firmly on the other side.
Wow.
And thus ended my comedy career before it even started.
Wow.
Yeah, but like, paths not taken, maybe I would have ended up working for Comedy Central, but that also probably would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Because I think comedy is already very bro-y and very weird. And like, I don't know, all the like, I love no shade, no tea, no shade, because there's a lot of comedians in New York City that I did storytelling with, that I like brought on stage to places I produced. And like have been on stage with them, and I've opened for a lot of people, but like stand-up comedians are not my people.
No. They have they openly have issues, but go backstage and it's even like triple it.
Yeah. 100%. I was like, these are some truly damaged people. I thought I had trauma and damage, and then I met stand-up comedians.
Yeah. And they think it's like no, this is normal. It's like no, honey, this is so not normal.
It's not normal.
And I don't know how to help you, so I'm out.
But I have so many fond memories of being with stand-ups and storytellers, just like hopping all around Manhattan, trying to be like, where's an open mic? Where's the stage we can get on? And like, just that like passion to be on a stage. Yeah. And somebody would get a text and they were like, if we could be in Jackson Heights, Queens in the next 15 minutes, we could each get 5 minutes. And we're like, go, get in the taxi, go.
Wow. Oh my God.
Those are really fun nights. Those are really, really fun nights. But yeah. Also, I'm 40 now. I can't do that shit anymore.
Baby, you're only 40? What the fuck, man? You're a child. You've got another minimally 80 years going. It's all good.
Let's ask my liver.
40. You 40 years. I'm like, in my head, I'm like 60 or total of 80. You got minimally 40 going. So.
Yeah, I definitely think I'll make it to 80. I don't know how much longer I'll make after that. Maybe there's like life extensions, or maybe the aliens take me.
And who knows, like with technology, like how everything's going to like pan out. Like, I don't know. So,
yeah.
I don't know. With that,
It's surprising.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. It's surprising how often I think to myself, I'm like, if the aliens are gonna come, can you just take me now? Like, just take. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I think it'll be
I don't know
fine.
what that means.
Huh?
You don't know what that means? Like if the aliens took you, you could end up in hell. You don't know. I'm just saying.
But you know what? You ain't gotta pay rent in hell.
You don't know that. You know that's an assumption on your part, love bug. Like you don't know that you don't have to pay rent in hell. They would be like, your tushy got here. Guess what your tushy's gonna be doing? Now you need to not just do like you need to like pay up in some capacity. There needs to be something going on.
I thought being a Satanist and promising my soul to Satan would give me certain privileges in hell. But maybe I grossly miscalculated.
In both heaven and hell, there are some assumptions that we all be making that you do not know.
Yeah.
You don't know. There may be a stipend. You don't know. Like there may be like a like some kind of housing extra amount. Maybe you need to stay in like cleaning the house. Like you don't know. Maybe you need to do dishes for the rest of your life.
I love doing dishes though.
Well, then that wouldn't be hell.
I mean, it would be hell if I was forced to listen to Taylor Swift's music and only Taylor Swift's music while doing dishes. Then I would definitely try to break those dishes to kill myself.
Now, what if it was Beyonce?
Totally fine. That's what I call a party. That's what me and my cat call a party.
There you go. And with that, we're going to end it on the Taylor's, or not on the Beyonce party. Thank you for everybody who joined us. If you joined us and it is not live, it's all good. We do this once a month. And by the way, it's all recorded on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I believe Twitter. So bring it. And we will see you next time. So with that, thank you guys.
Bye.